Do the intros.
Welcome to the J&J Sports Express. Next to me is Jeff Cadillac. He's frozen right now. And I'm J.B. Ellis. We go over all the games, so the 5 most important games every week.
Here we
usually
go
on Wednesday, but we're going to go on Thursday this week. Jeff Cadillac's here now. I don't know what happened, but go ahead, Jeff.
All right. The J&J Sports Express. I'll tell you, 5 exclusive games every week with my co-host, J.B. Ellis. If you're not listening, you're missing. That's the words for today. I'm telling you. Look, some good insight. We can't always pick them right. You know, certain games, unbelievable. It's topsy-turvy. That's the game of football. Tom Brady even said it best while he was doing one of the games this weekend. He said it's almost impossible to pick certain games with teams that look good from one week and terrible the next. So, you know, one of the things I just want to say last week was San Francisco at the Rams. They completely blew that game. And, you know, when you're up that high on a team, you cannot, you know, let them have hope. It's ridiculous. I liked San Francisco big as my pick of the week. They were looking good into the fourth quarter, but they let the Rams come back, and San Francisco scored no points. They deserve to lose. When you play like that, you deserve to lose. And another team that I liked very much and had 2 chances to win the game was on Sunday night, Atlanta, at home against Kansas City. They were on the end zone doorstep. You do not get chances like that against a team like Kansas City. And in the last chance, with less than a minute, they blew 2 plays. 2nd and 1, they had 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1, and they couldn't get it done because they're basically running a predictable play to the left side of the offense. My play, as I've been watching football and analyzing it for a long time, you get your tight end in there who's a blocking tight end who's maybe caught 3 passes in all of his life. You make it look like you sell the run. You make it look like you're going up the middle or towards the side, and you let that tight end just go straight. Now, the secondary is going to be thinking run, run, run all night long. That tight end is going to be by himself in the end zone, waving his arms up and down because nobody will have picked him up. And guess what? Cousins could have hit him with a ball that you and I could have caught. And that play would have shocked Kansas City. That would have been the perfect play. I've seen teams run it. They never pick up the tight end because they say, it's the guy who's never used. He's caught 3 passes in his life. So, of course, the secondary's playing the run. Bam. He's wide open. Cousins throws a short pass. Everybody in Atlanta looks like a genius. But guess what? They ran two running plays to the left side of the line. Kansas City's waiting on it. Predictable. Bam. Atlanta loses.
Listen, they lost the game for multiple reasons. One is you take the field goal when you're at the 30-something yard line. There's still 5.5 minutes left. Plenty of time. Your defense played phenomenal all game. Secondly, if you're going to go for it on 4th down, you don't run it to the outside on the left side. You drafted Bijan Robinson. You run it up the middle, or you do what Jeff said. You don't run it outside with Bijan. Bijan's not a guy to run outside. That's a horrible call.
95% of the time, JB, teams run on 4th and 1. It's the 5% guys that show you something that's not in the videotape, that's not in the film room, that win the game.
I get it, but this is why you drafted Bijan Robinson. He's a big back. You run him up the middle, or you do what you said. One or the other. You don't run it outside, that's for sure. But you take the points way before that on the clock, and you rely on your defense that's played phenomenal, and you don't have that problem because you got the ball back and you could have won the game with a field goal.
That's right. That's right. So
we're going to go by analytics. We're going to go for it. And where to get you? In the loser column.
Go what your gut says and go what, feels right. And that's what should have been done. But anyway, tonight's game, Thursday night football. Last we checked, it was Dallas -4.5 at the Giants on Thursday night. JB, who do you like?
The Cowboys own the Giants. I don't care how bad the Cowboys look, that their losses were to the Ravens, which the Ravens are a decent team. The record doesn't indicate it. They had a couple of bad losses. They should have won the game at KC. It was a close game. The Ravens are a good team. Week 2, listen, their defense just been bad, but they're going to get a chance to correct it now. They're going to play the Giants. Cowboys are going to run through them like they usually do. It's not MetLife Stadium. It's Cowboy Stadium in New Jersey. And I'm a Giant fan. I have no faith that Daniel Jones will be able to run this offense and look good 2 weeks in a row. They beat Cleveland. Whoop-de-doo. The Cowboys beat Cleveland too. Where to get them? They're 1-2 right now. Same thing as us. Talent-wise, they are better. Their defense is better. Giants have played decent. They should be 2-1. They didn't have a kicker against Washington, so that cost them that game. But when it's all said and done, talent's gonna rely on this game. And the Cowboys are just a better team. Hopefully in a few years the Giants will make the right picks to rebuild. Neighbors looks phenomenal. Robinson's looking good in the slot. I think the Giants are going to put up some points, but the Cowboys are going to put up enough to cover and win the game.
I like the Cowboys in this, but for different reasons. First of all, the Cowboys are in desperation mode. They have to win this game. They're down 1-3. You can forget about playoffs. And Jerry Jones is an idiot. He should have let Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb play out their options. There's something called the NFL draft, and you can always replenish players through the draft. That's how he got Dak Prescott, who was a fourth-round draft choice. CeeDee Lamb, wide receivers are a dime a dozen, bro. You can get them anywhere. They don't have to be a first-round draft choice, second-round draft choice. There's talented wide receivers all over college, and they're dying for jobs, and they're dying to get that paycheck and prove themselves. Second, Cowboys, look, I'm not going to, let's stop the comparisons of Micah Parsons with Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence Taylor was the complete defender. The only reason I watched them back then is because of Lawrence Taylor. And without Lawrence Taylor, the Giants don't win 2 Super Bowls. They don't do a lot of things because he basically was a leader on that team. Micah Parsons is good at taking care of the quarterback every once in a while. That's if he's actually in the game. So let's stop the comparisons there. Micah Parsons is not half the player that Lawrence Taylor was. I like the Cowboys in this for different reasons. Number one, the desperation mode that we even spoke about. They can't be 1-3. A lot of people have already predicted that Dallas isn't making the playoffs. I tend to agree with that because, look, you pay these guys. Dak Prescott that got $200 million in the bank. Who cares if he makes the playoffs? Who cares? The Giants, they're a terrible team. They beat a discombobulated Cleveland team last week, okay? Cleveland's got a whole set of problems. They barely lost to Washington because Brian Daboll's an idiot. Didn't sign a kicker when he knew his kicker was hurting. How do you not have a kicker on the roster or a backup kicker just in case? They blew that game. They were embarrassed first week against Minnesota. So I'm not impressed by the Giants beating a discombobulated. I know I used the term again, but that's what Cleveland is, discombobulated. Nobody even knows where they're going, what they're doing. Deshaun Watson looks like, forget it. Another guy, take the money and run. The Giants, problem there is no offensive line. It's still not taken care of. Cleveland, hey, look, they got injured defensive line, so they're not really rushing the passer. I do like Devin Singletary, but again, Cowboys are in desperation mode, folks. When a team is desperate, you don't put money down against them. They need this game like nobody's business, like Baltimore needed last week against the Cowboys. They weren't going 0-3. I loved Baltimore last week, even though Dallas scored all those points in garbage time, tried to make a nice, catch up and whatever. They fell short. Their stats look good, but it was all garbage time. Take the Cowboys, lay the 4.5. Now it's up to 5.5, but when we analyzed it, it was 4.5. I like the Cowboys winning like 31-17 in this game. Giants get a late touchdown, dummy, garbage time, makes the score look respectable. But Cowboys have owned the Giants, as J.B. said. I like the Cowboys here.
All right, let's go up to Green Bay. Aaron Jones makes his return to Green Bay.
Oh,
go ahead.
Man, let me start this one. First of all, Aaron Jones must be foaming at the mouth all week waiting for this game because he wants to run for like 200 yards against the Packers on Sunday. The Vikings, Sam Darnold, it just goes to show you that a player in the right situation with the right coaching can turn around their whole career. First of all, the Jets' problem is all they do is hire defensive coordinators to be their coach. So what do? Jets have a strong defense, basically next to nothing on offense. They don't know how to improve on what they have. They get talented players, but they go nowhere. Sam Darnold is making the most of an opportunity because next year, that I forget who they drafted off the top of my head that's injured for the year.
McCarthy.
Right. He's going to be J.J. McCarthy. He's going to get the full reins probably next year. But Sam Darnold, like I said, if he's smart, he takes this year, has a nice run, looks at his options after the year and says, look, I'm not getting stuck in another bad situation, but he's making the most of a good situation here. I like the Vikings in this game. Packers, Justin Love, what do you need to rush this guy back? Every week they're testing his ankle, they're testing his knee. It's like back and forth. Yeah, rush him back, get him injured, then he'll be out for the whole year. Let him come back. It's early in the season. But look, Aaron Jones, he's going to help Sam Darnold big time this weekend because he's going to be running on premium, baby. He's going to run at the Packers, Lambeau Field. He's going to be excited. He's going to get that welcome back. Packers, listen, I don't know why the Packers let him go. I think it was a very bad mistake. Vikings are also playing great defense. They basically stymied Houston last week, to 7 points. It was like 34-7. But, Houston's a very good team. I like C.J. Stroud. He'll bounce back. I'm not even worried about it. It's a good team. Listen, teams get lost. They have losses. It's part of the way it is in the NFL. Everybody gets wins and losses. But I like the Vikings big in this game, baby.
Listen, there's definitely a revenge factor when Aaron Jones comes home to Green Bay. The Vikings and Packers, this is a huge game for the NFC North. Winner of this game has a shot to win the division. Detroit's still there, but you're going to be up there with them, and then you have your fate in your own hand when you play Detroit. You lose this game, you're behind the 8 ball. So this is a huge game for both teams who want to win the division. The Vikings, they look good. I mean, their offense is complete. They have 2 really good receivers in Jefferson and Addison. We talked about Jones. He's going to be excited to be coming home to Green Bay. He's going to want to give him a little something extra, so that just gives him another added to the bunch. Darnold looks like, he should have looked when he first started. And like you said, the Jets don't have that guy that can bring the best out of their quarterbacks. They never did. So that's the Vikings. The Packers, on the other hand, they face a tough choice. Jordan Love should be cleared to play. Do you put him in this game, or do you go with Malik Willis, who has been serviceable? Not great. You're not going to get what you get out of Jordan Love with him.
Well, you knew he was beating. I'll tell you something, JB. You knew he was beating Tennessee last week.
Oh, yeah, but at the same time,
come on. They traded him in the offseason. Again, another revenge game. And that's what, people have to understand. If there's other factors besides just the 2 teams going at it, that's a big factor in picking who you're going to win on Sunday.
Right. But I mean, if you're the Packers, this is an important decision because if you put Jordan Love in too quick and he gets hurt again, you're behind the 8 ball and you're stuck with Willis the rest of the way.
Listen, that's a fireable offense. You put in a star player who's not ready to come back and he gets injured again, I can tell you the whole coaching staff goes out the door.
And, the Viking defense is going to put pressure on him. So, he's looked good under pressure so far in his career. He's done well, except for that, limited stint when he came off the bench when Rodgers was there. As a starter last year, he's looked well under pressure. If he plays, I like the Vikings. If Willis plays, I love the Vikings. So either way, I'm with the Vikings. I think that they're just going to pull off the victory. I think later in the year, game number 2 may be different, but we're not up to that point yet. We'll have to analyze as it comes in. But today, I'm taking the Vikings with the points.
Definitely.
All right, let's go down to Baltimore. This is probably one of the best Sunday night games we've had in a long time.
Sunday night football.
God, you could start.
All right, here we go. Bills at Ravens. Bills are on a scoring machine right now. They're scoring points left and right, and the defense is definitely holding up. See, on Monday Night Football, I thought definitely that the Jaguars would at least give them some kind of game. They were dead on arrival. It was like they came to the stadium in their bus, but a high school team got off the bus because on both sides of the ball, Buffalo destroyed Jacksonville. The Ravens last week were in a must-win game. I said it here last week. I said they had to win that game. But the problem with the Ravens is there are 2 things. First of all, in the fourth quarter, they've been outscored 39-13, which is not good. Okay? Not good at all. Other teams know. They get tired. They get lazy. They start playing that prevent defense. Second, the the Baltimore secondary is horrible. If you have a quarterback who actually could read the defense and see what's going on and maybe have a little patience, you could pick that team apart, because the secondary for years has been horrible. I've been saying that under John Harbaugh. They get guys in their secondary off the meat wagon, guys that have been hanging around. Okay, they've had a name in their prime and everything, but they're past their prime. They basically come with veteran leadership, but they leave it out on the field. They don't really leave it out on the field. They leave it in the locker room, because that secondary can be. Look what happened last week. Baltimore's up 28-6 in the fourth quarter at Dallas, looking like it's going to be one of them 40-5, 40-10 blowouts. They let Dallas come back, scored 19 points, 28-6. So they scored about 19 points, 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. So that's not good. You let a team, all of a sudden you don't want to get hurt and this and that. And Lamar Jackson is still running around. I like the Bills in this game for a reason. McDermott is a very smart coach in Buffalo. He knows that if you keep Lamar Jackson in the pocket, he's not going to be as effective unless you let him run wild. He is not a precision quarterback. He is not a guy that can sit back there and throw 35 times and complete 27 out of 35. He will not do it. And Derrick Henry may get his yards, but Buffalo will be ready. You see, Josh Allen is actually more relaxed this year because he doesn't have to throw to Diggs, Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs in the lineup, star wide receiver. They all have to get theirs. Oh, I got to get my catches. I got to get my throws. He's complaining this and that. Josh Allen doesn't have that now. He could take a look at the whole defense and say, you know what? We're going to do what's best for the team. I don't have to throw 10 targets to Stephon Diggs. The Ravens, on the other hand, they're always tough against the run. They need to put a spotter in against Josh Allen too. But Josh Allen's better in the pocket than Lamar Jackson. And that's the difference there. Josh Allen is a better quarterback when he's playing well than Lamar Jackson, because he doesn't need to run. He threw for 4 touchdowns against Jacksonville last week. He only ran for 43 yards. Lamar Jackson, Baltimore's not effective unless he does the run. I like the Bills getting the points, but I'll tell you something right now. I think they win outright on Sunday night.
Listen, this is probably the best game we've had on Sunday night in a while. I think the Bills definitely win the game outright. Ravens are a good team. The Ravens have problems with performing at the moment. They're not fully focused. There's something that's missing there. They brought in Derrick Henry, which I thought was a great move to get a running back to alleviate some of the pressure off Lamar. It hasn't worked to their advantage yet. The defense has not played up to par. The Bills are a buzzsaw at the moment. They are destroying teams. What they did to Jacksonville was a thing of beauty. And, not having Stephon Diggs, like you said, Josh Allen could sit back. He doesn't have to worry. He's got to feed the star receiver. He just gets the ball to whoever is open, whoever has the best opportunity. And having Cook out of the backfield there, not that Cook is a superstar, but he's a reliable back that Allen really hasn't had previously. I mean, Cook started to play well last year, but prior to that, he didn't have that. Look at the difference in the offense now that there's a back that can actually carry the ball. It makes the passing game that much better because you have to respect the run, and it changes everything. I like the Bills outright in this game. I think it's going to be a close game. I don't think we're going to be turning off the TV like we did Monday night. But the Bills are on a mission. There's a fire under them. They could have taken their foot off the gas against Jacksonville in the second half. There was no doubt that they were going to win that game. They came out firing in the third quarter. They didn't care. They just kept going. And, before you know it, it was just blowout city.
Well, it was 34-3 at halftime, so you could kind of turn the sets off there.
Yeah, but they didn't take their foot off the gas. They just kept going. Jacksonville's a team of disarray, and the Bills took full advantage of it. Yeah,
Jacksonville, let me tell you something. All these guys, I have to say this, all these quarterbacks with big contracts are all just, it looks like they don't care. They really don't. You pay them big money. I'm getting $45-50 million a year. Who cares? I got my money. I got guaranteed money. There's only a few quarterbacks that actually care. And still, Mahomes is at the top of that list. He's the best. He plays every game like it's his last. He could play for $1 or $100 million. Doesn't matter. He's still going to give you 100% every day on Sunday.
Yeah, we're going to Miami next.
Okay, Monday Night Football. There's 2 games here this week. You got Titans at Dolphins. This thing's been going back and forth. Titans +1, Dolphins, -1. Who do you like, JB, and why?
This is an ugly game. I don't know why we have 2 games on Monday night, and I don't know why we have this game even bother being played. But you know what? The Titans got to win a game somewhere because nobody's going 0-17, and they're getting a chance to play the Dolphins without a true quarterback. Skylar Thompson got banged up last week. I'm assuming he's starting with everything that I'm seeing. He didn't look that good to begin with last week. Don't think he's going to improve that much this week when they went out to Seattle and got beat. Titans, they don't look great either, but they found something in Hopkins last week. I think that's going to be good enough to help them, to give them something else on that offense. He seems to be healthy and ready to play. I like him as an addition there, getting into the game a little bit more. Their running game is decent. I don't see how the Dolphins recover from this Tua injury. They have all this star power on the offense, and they don't have a reliable backup. And the NFL, if you look back a couple of years, we learned the lesson. The NFL is about not just your starting quarterback, who you have on the bench when your starting quarterback gets injured, because too many of them do. And this is where the Dolphins went from a team that would be in contention to win the AFC East and possibly get into the Super Bowl talk to, hopefully we get a good draft pick and we can do something next year, and I hope Tua can play again. So I'm going to go with the Titans in this one in a horrible game that I'm not even going to watch.
I have to agree with you with Tennessee. The Dolphins, I think, are one of the most overrated teams. They got a lot of star players on there that basically do nothing and just collect paychecks. And I don't know whose idea it was to pay Jalen Ramsey the highest money for a cornerback, because he's one of the most overrated cornerbacks in the NFL. If you really need a touchdown, you look to see who he's covering and you throw it that way, because he gives up more touchdowns than anybody. I think he's just terrible. He's just, the Dolphins defense, they're banged up. They got a lot of guys on there, collecting big money on the team. They're going nowhere. The team, you got Skylar Thompson and Tim Boyle, the backups. They're both pretty bad, even though Skylar Thompson, you would think, knows the offense already. He's just not capable of getting the job done. The running back situation, they're all banged up. You don't know if it's Mo Start or Jeff Wilson. Doesn't matter. Tennessee is psyched. They need a win. Another team that's desperate. 0-3. They got beat last week by Green Bay and Malik Willis. You knew that was going to happen. But Titans got a lot of guys on defense that you have to. L'Jarius Sneed, who was picked up from Kansas City. He's a veteran in that secondary. Look to see that the Titans secondary starts to make some moves this week, because the Dolphins are easy prey. Big deal. You got Waddle. You got what's his name? I can't think of his name. The other wide receiver, big one, Tyreek Hill. So what? They're not going anywhere. They got nobody to throw them the ball. Titans need a game. And remember last year, the Titans with Will Levis beat Dolphins in a big game when the Dolphins could have used it at the end of the season. Dolphins were a big favorite, and they ended up losing. So there may be some payback, but Dolphins don't have the artillery to really do anything about it. Tua coming back in a few weeks. This team is really a mess, injury-wise and talent-wise, and I don't see them doing anything. But I got to agree with you on this one. It's not even a game to really watch unless you're a fan of either team. But I like the Titans to win this game outright.
Now, the game to watch on Monday night, it's going to come up right now. Seahawks at Lions. Now, the Seahawks are undefeated, going to Detroit. I'm excited about this. I work with Dave DeRocher on Sideline Sports. He's a former Seahawk. He's the host of Hawk Talk. So I am well-versed in Seahawks football. You know what? Unfortunately, the unbeaten streak ends here. But 4 points, are they good enough to cover? That's the question. I'll let you start.
All right. I'll tell you the truth. I like the Seahawks because the Seahawks have a spell over the Lions. Last 3 years, these two teams have met, and Seahawks are 3-0. and they've beaten them in some wild ones. You would think, yeah, looking at them, Detroit should have won every game. First game, they got blown out at Seattle. Last 2 games, they got blown out. One of the games was in overtime, and Geno Smith had some great games in both games. And the first game in the blowout was Russell Wilson. Detroit is funny. Last week, I knew they were going to win against Arizona, and the bounce-back loss against Tampa Bay, that I had no problem with. But the Lions definitely have the good 1-2 punch in the running back situation with Montgomery and Gibbs. Seahawks surprise you. You know, you look at this team, you look at the roster, you say, you know, there's not too many stars on this team, but somehow they get the job done. And if Geno Smith has just a decent day, a satisfactory day with no turnovers, the Seahawks can win games. It's the turnover factor. Once he starts turning the ball over, it's the Seahawks could, you know, they're done. The Lions, you know, they still have that hangover from losing the NFC Championship game. I look at them and I watch them and I say, you know, there's something just not right here. And Jared Goff has a lot to prove. This team has a lot to prove because of what they did in that championship game. They had San Francisco on their heels, and they did not take advantage. You know, you may be able to get away with something like that during the regular season, but in the playoffs, it's for keeps. And when you lose on a game like that, it basically haunts you the whole winter. Seahawks, hey, they're playing with the house's money right now. And I got to tell you, I like the Seahawks to keep this close, and I think they pull the upset in Detroit on Monday night.
Well, at around 11 p.m. Eastern time, Monday night, you're still going to need to be watching this game. It's going to come down to a late field goal. I don't know who's going to win, but I know the Seahawks are not losing by 4. You know, the Seahawks have a good running game. Their passing game, they have, you know, some young kids there. They have Lockett still, you know, Geno Smith. As long as he doesn't turn the ball over, this is going to be a close game. Yeah,
Kenny Walker, running back.
Yeah, we all know about Detroit, what they have, Montgomery and Gibbs, you know, Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's going to be a high-scoring, fun game to watch, but around 11 o'clock, someone's going to be going for a field goal, or it's going to be a one-score game, and you're going to be glued to your TV. I hope you don't have to be up early Tuesday morning, because this is the game worth watching. You know, you'll switch back to the other game just to see the score and the highlight here and there, but this is the game you're going to want to focus on, and the Seahawks are going to keep it close. So they pull off an upset. If it was at home, I say yes. On the road, it's a coin toss. I do agree with you. The Lions, you know, it's tough. They're coming back after that loss in the championship game last year. But the Seahawks have a chance to go 2.5 games up on San Francisco and the Rams. You know, so when they're flying to Detroit this weekend, you know, if they sit there and think about that and go out there and play their best game and they come out with a win, they're 2.5 games up. Either it'll be 2 or 3, depending on what the teams do on Sunday. But think about it. The Seahawks are up by 2 games right now. Of course, this is going to be a close game. Take the 4 points. If it goes under 3, you're on your own. But anything above 3, take the Seahawks. They're playing good football.
I agree with you. So,
where can we reach you?
Where you can reach me? Well, first of all, folks, I'd like to say if you have any comments about the show, hey, post them out on Twitter and everything, and sometimes send us comments here as well. It's always welcome. We want to hear, you know, what people think about the picks. You can find me at jeffcadillac.com. I got all the picks for the week. They should be up shortly. Not today, unfortunately, but they should be up by late Friday. Still doing some of the games, still doing some research. You can find me on Twitter on Friday on the best bet of the week. Last week, San Francisco really let me down, but this week I'm looking at some games because there's a lot of payback in the NFL this week in certain games, and that might be the incentive to pick that game or that team. And you can find me here every Wednesday night on Twitter with my co-host, J.B. Ellis. J.B., where can we find you?
So first of all, if you're watching, the website's on the bottom, Sideline Sports at jeffcadillac.com. So you can go to the website. Our X handles are on the bottom. Jeff is at Jeff Cadillac 1. I'm JB _ the program. You can watch the show anytime on Twitter, Facebook, and or YouTube. If you watch on YouTube, subscribe. Just make sure you follow Sideline Sports every Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern and here Wednesdays. We'll see you guys next week. Have a good week. Jeff?
Have a good week, folks, and we'll see you next